Hey everybody, and welcome to the fiery depths of hell. This will be no surprise to anyone who saw the video on Monday on the main channel in which I played a song that I wrote entirely using tritones, tritone chords, the devil's interval, and ended up here. This is a new low for the second channel, where already these standards were very low. I'm just going to be ranting, talking to a camera here about tritones and specifically my take on using them to create the song that came out on Monday, which landed me here. The tritone chord is rumored to have been banned in medieval times, or if you played it you would go to jail, or people believing that it could summon the devil. None of that is actually true. It does make for a great story, though I have learned in recent days that while people believing that it could summon the devil is just a rumor or that it would be banned, it is entirely truthful that it will. So if you would like to use the tritone chord in your musical endeavors, I do recommend it. I think it's a really useful tool, a really harsh chord that can add a lot of tension, or could even be very beautiful in very context. In the right context, but I would recommend not playing it straight for a few days. Throw in some single notes in there, and you should be fine, but otherwise you might summon the devil and end up in the same situation that I am now. So yeah, just throw in some other chords or some single notes here and there, and you'll be fine. But anyway, I'm going to be chatting about how I went about writing this tune, and yeah, my general approach to using nothing but tritones to make something. So this song very much was inspired by like local deathcore bands from my area, particularly Oceano. If I would have to say any particular name, mostly Oceano. I can't think of any other genre really where the chord is used this way and so often. There's a bunch of genres where it's used to really great effect, but just the flat-out two-note chord being almost the main chord for a genre, I can really only think of bands like Oceano. Oceano is a Chicago group, and yeah, they've been playing around here for a really long time. They're probably the biggest band in this scene since I can remember, going back, well over a decade. But anyway, this video isn't just about Oceano. So I guess I should just start at what an interval is. An interval refers to the distance between two notes. So if you have, say, an A note, and then you go up 6 whole steps, that would bring you to another A note. That's referred to as an octave. And every distance between two notes has its own name. Like you have your octave, your perfect fifth, your major third, your tritone here. They all have their own names. And they all have their own particular uses, though they can all be used in a lot of different ways. But the tritone is what I've heard people refer to as the most dissonant chord. I actually think the minor second, which is just a half step apart of two notes, is probably the most dissonant to my ears. I see the tritone, otherwise referred to as the devil's interval, as being the angriest single interval that I could think of. It just has a very aggressive, harsh tone to me. But in this case, I wasn't putting it into chords or subtly using it to add a bit of tension. I'm just using it in this song as just two notes, straightforward chords. So in that context, I think because of its real lack of a root note, it just feels really unstable, because a tritone is 3 whole notes apart, why it's called a tritone, and it's directly in the middle of the octave, and because of that, the octave, if you're doing a 2-note chord, the octave of the lower note going up, if you add that octave, then you've created another tritone, and that is the higher note in the middle note. Now, I don't know if that's confusing without me showing it to you, but I don't have an amp here in hell. Apparently there's no guitar amps in hell. So I learned that. I think they could open up one music store, geez. I guess that's located elsewhere. Anyway, so because of that, I especially noticed this while trying to add a bass line to these chords, in that there's not a root note. The chord is 2 notes and both of them equally don't really function, and I think that's a big reason why it sounds so unstable, is that there's no single note anchoring it down. Like if you're playing the power chord, a perfect fifth, like if you're playing an A note and then higher up you're playing an E, yeah, then you have a power chord and that A is the root, and it makes most logical sense to play an A on the bass, and at least if you're going for the root note to really anchor it down, how I see it. In this case, there's not really a note to anchor it, so it was a bit tricky performing the bass, in which you kind of have to pick one or the other. Neither are gonna sound like you would normally expect the bass track to sound when going with a guitar chord. Anyway, I'm getting into the weeds here, really. But so to go back to that, it's a very unstable chord, and in that it's really difficult to put it into a nice scale. So for this, in this genre, when you're using it this much, I'm just using it chromatic. In fact, I very much found that writing in all tritones is similar to, it seems like I'm flexing the same muscles to if I'm playing the drums. Like if you have a row of toms, it's not like, you know, this one's a C and this one's, you know, the major third, this one's the perfect fifth, this one's an octave. It's not like that. It's like this one's high, this one's medium high, this one's medium, and so on. It's just a range of, it's just a more dull range, maybe is a way to say that. It's like if you're playing a lot of drums, you're not playing a key. And I found playing with just tritones is similar to that. It's like every chord is not really a part of a scale as much as it is just the same aggressive tone moved down or moved up. So it's kind of, it felt a little bit in between of playing a string instrument and just playing drums. And then you also have some other things in there to give it flavor, like palm mutes, which are used a lot in this, and bends, you know, striking the note really hard. Why can't I think of it as slides, sliding the chords around to give it some extra flavor, but it kind of seems like you're building a rhythm more so than you're building a melody. And the rhythm that starts it out also showcases another. It's hard to put this kind of stuff into words because I know how I could communicate it with a guitar much easier, but again, no amps in this area. It's kind of like I want it to feel as if it's stumbling. I want a rhythm that feels like it's almost like stumbling drunk, if that kind of makes sense, like just an angry drunk sound. I could kind of describe it as, so I'm using a mixture of triplets with, you know, a rhythm with the drums that's less, it's a bit more straightforward, and it kind of gives it this, it almost like oozes along. So bum 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 ba ba ba. I believe they're triplets there, and then it's just going chromatic down and up. And then to give it more flavor as well, I tried to bring that same starting chord up an octave. You can use octaves in this, in where it's going to make musical sense, but for a lot of it, it's just giving it a rhythm. And then I try to put in, like, we got half time, mid time, some slides to just give it some extra flavor and give it a lot of oomph and beefiness. I think I'm doing a horrible job at describing what I was going for with this song without being able to play it here, really. So yeah, then it ends with a breakdown, which is also very much inspired by local metal bands here. That Oceano I already said. Jerome comes to mind for the ending, which was another local band, and that same type of I don't know exactly what you would call it. You got yourself kind of a strange rhythm on the guitars, and they cut out for most of it, and then it just comes back in with that china and snare with the drums, and it just gives a very aggressive, groovy sound. So this song was essentially taking everything that I've learned from using tritones in that genre into this, and hopefully you'd enjoy it. I think it turned out great. To me, this type of like hyper, almost comically aggressive type of sound is something that I really enjoy. And yeah, that's it. You can use tritones for many other things. Just be careful, you don't want to end up here. And hopefully, next time I see you on this channel, it will be back in the office. All right, well, wish me luck. Have a good one.